Hey, this is Notser, and we are in the Tier 8 French cruiser Charles Martel. We're on the map North. This is on the public test server, and we're testing 7.8. 7.8 is going to introduce a brand new consumable to the French cruiser line. It starts at Tier 6, I believe, and goes all the way to Tier 10. It improves the reload by 50%. Now, this enemy DD tried to run the gap. He's trying to get over to that island. I decided in the window that was given to use the cooldown to improve my damage overall over that short window. Unfortunately, in order to have this consumable on Charles and Saint Louis, Wargaming has nerfed the damage per minute. The reload is now 12 seconds versus 10, and that's kind of unfortunate casualty when introducing a brand new skill to a line that has existed for over a year at this point. Players who have unlocked the Charles and unlocked Saint Louis are probably not going to be very happy. They don't have a choice. They're just going to lose power, and they have to incorporate this skill into their play. What could the skill be used for? Obviously, punishing a DD that's out in the open, vulnerable. You could also use the skill to force out damage control and then relight that fire. I'm imagining a one-fire kind of guy, enemy battleship. He puts the fire out. You wait about 15 seconds, and then you fire your gun with the shell in flight. He drops off his damage control immunity. You light 2 or 3 fires on that exact target in a very short amount of time. He burns for an extended period of time. That sounds like a pretty awesome skill for HE. How could I make use of it with AP? Well, if a broadside target is vulnerable out in the open, maybe a cruiser or two who seems to be pushing down the center-ish side of north, there could be potential AP broadside. Now, my cooldown is still not available, but it will be in about 15 seconds. So I was like, I would definitely like to stop these guys, so I'm going to engage the Worcester. Initially, I was thinking, he'll stay perfectly broadside, AP. Of course, he completely denies that, and I have to retreat, because Worcester will burn you down very quickly. Very, very quickly. But if I can hide, yes, I can hide, then maybe I could fire over the island. I did set him on fire, and the fire is definitely out, so maybe I could follow it up with another salvo or two. Yes, there we go. Perfect. Teammates are definitely here as well. Enemy DD backs up and shows himself, but I really want to try AP on the broadside. It is the public test server. Players don't just charge in the center and die. And this guy is definitely trying, so enemy Charles, perfect broadside, fire off my HE, switch to AP. I want to make sure that I'm reloading, and then I activate my main battery reload consumable. And I'm going to fire at the broadside, salvo after salvo after salvo, about 3 to 4-ish you can get off in the same window that one would normally occur. We just absolutely obliterated the Charles. Yes, I know he didn't maneuver, and yes, I know. But in that small window, we did about 25,000 damage. Maybe even higher. That was pretty good. And that will be available 3, 4, 5 times in a match. It could be the difference between turning the game and losing. The French cruisers have now moved into a window where they might actually be incredibly strong under certain scenarios, certain situations, and that's pretty cool. Because for me, personally, I just really didn't see a reason to play them. They had at the same or worse concealment. They didn't have the same reload, the same tools available. Yeah, speed boost cool, but radar's better. They're not as tanky as something like the Germans. So the addition of this skill is really exciting for me as a player. Maybe not exciting for people who have already leveled up. They enjoy their Charles, they enjoy their Saint Louis, and they really would prefer the 10-second reload versus 12. But for anyone who was kind of lukewarm on the French cruisers, they didn't feel like there was enough there to justify playing them, you might actually have a reason to go back and revisit this line, and, you know, that's exciting. I really feel like the potential is there. It's absolutely exciting to have the window available to exploit certain mistakes by the enemy, or even they could be playing it just right and there's no other option for the enemy. I love a line that's going to exploit that kind of window. I do have some critiques though. The skill being located on the I hotkey by default is a little awkward. I find myself having to reach well across the keyboard to activate the skill, and sometimes I feel like I'm a little flustered. I can only imagine if I was in like a point-blank situation where I also needed to use my torpedoes to save my butt. I don't really know that it's going to feel all that comfortable for the player base. I would kind of prefer if it would be moved down to a higher priority, like T. Obviously, R you can't switch out because damage control is very important, but I think this would fit better at the T slot. Also, you're taking a ship with a 12-second reload. Only the Japanese have worse. And that's an issue. If you're stuck in a game where you're having to shoot your way out of multiple enemies and just damage them over time, it's kind of going to be an issue, I think. You're going to be feeling the DPM nerf, especially to the Charles and especially to Saint Louis. Those are two ships that absolutely were outstanding for the French. They were really fun to play, 203mm guns, good gun velocity, you can engage short or long, medium range. They didn't introduce any weird quirkiness with radar, and more radar. It was a good, clean, solid line that just wasn't being played, I think partly because it didn't really do anything exceptionally well. It doesn't tank damage all that well. It doesn't dish out damage all that well. Its torpedo systems are mediocre. It doesn't have a consumable that is outstanding. Speed boost is cool, but it's more like a bonus than a cooldown that you feel like is absolutely changing the game for cruisers and battleships. That you just can't get on the flank fast enough. You don't get in that many situations where you need to start and stop and benefit from the engine boost aspect of it. But with this main battery reload, it's a completely different line. It's as if a brand new line was introduced. So many scenarios that you would have done one thing, you can do something completely different, and that's exciting. No other line works like this. The only thing that would be close to this effect is the Des Moines, Minotaur, Worcester, that sort of thing. They feel like they have overwhelming firepower. And what's the common trait of all of those? Their velocity's kind of crap, right? So you could absolutely be the difference maker at medium to long range on those battleships, on those heavy cruisers that are sitting out at range. That heavy cruiser that just used damage control, you can exploit that window right there, right now. And notice I was able to get a double strike. The faster reload is going to offer that opportunity as well. So it's just an incredibly exciting skill. I don't know if it's appropriate to be introduced on an already established line, but that's the direction they're going. And I'm just excited for the potential variety that's going to offer. I could conceivably play this line and feel like, okay, in this scenario, I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to activate, do tons of AP damage on a broadside battleship like this. Obviously, it's on cooldown. When is it on cooldown? When isn't? The enemy can do some counterplay because they can try and time out the shots. And if they time out the shots, they know that you've just used your cooldown or you're not using it. Unlike radar, where you have to be under the effect or have someone be under the effect, you can visualize the benefit that the skill has, and that is healthy for the game, I feel. It would be healthier if other skills were more obvious, like if I'm injecting my engine with the ability to boost it, it should be a little bit more obvious from a distance, like it should just change the color or something weird like that, just so it's easier for the enemy to counterplay it. It kind of feels like most of the skills, though, they don't really have a lot of counterplay without verifying with your ship itself. Radar would work so much better if everyone around you told you, or friendlies, when that effect was going on, right? It would just be easier to play with and against, and it wouldn't feel so cheesy at times. But this skill, it feels kind of awesome. It feels really fun to play, and I'm excited to see if I can develop it. You know, maybe I was just flustered by the location, and if I'm getting used to eye, then maybe I can just more effectively take advantage of it. But 4 kills, a double strike. We got 100-0. We got 4 citadels on the target in a small window. Absolutely, it helped a lot. I hope you enjoyed seeing the new ability. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.